All right, it's time to go pulling. We're weighed in, signed up. I'm already a little irked because even though I had the 1800 set up the exact same way that I've set it up every year since we've been pulling it, it was somehow 100 pounds over. So I stripped the 3-point arms off of it, and that should get it, because didn't want to take weight off the front because it needs weight on the nose more than anything. So well. And then come to find out, the heavyweight classes, which I'm in it, he's in it. I don't know if that big deer, he might be the one below me. Anyway, I don't know who else in it, but there's at least 2 of us. The 35,000, it weighs 29,970 or 29,870, something, 29 something 70, almost 30,000. So had to go to the 35,000 class, and that one is apparently now an exhibition class, even though for the last several years it's been a payout class. But I guess that means I get to pull for free, so I just don't get a trophy or anything for it. So anyhow, gotta go to the driver's meeting, go get some breakfast. So we'll catch you when we start pulling. There's a big hole right there. go get the tractor. They're calling for your class. I believe this is the first pull in Shelly's class. Shelly.
it's gonna go around here. Catching shit on fire. That 88 I drove home been on fire too.
right, where to start? Obviously everything's home. We just got the 18 back here about 15 minutes ago. We drove Eleanor here home right after the pull, and then we went back up, grabbed the 1800, got some dinner up there at the fairgrounds. I have two things I always have to get. Actually, three. I've got to get corn dogs, because there's a corn dog stand there that is like a permanent facet of, it's like a permanent building on the grounds. It's called the Corn Dog with a K. I've always got to get my corn dogs. That's one of the things I got to do. And then there's a place up there that sells taco buckets. I got to get a taco bucket, and then I have to get an elephant ear. Those are the three things I have to get every year before my fair experience is complete. So got the corn dogs knocked out today, so we go back up Friday, Saturday sometime. I'll get my taco bucket and the elephant ear knocked out. So I guess for starters, we'll talk about how things went. Shelly took 5th in the 10,000 farm stock, which says oddly the same place she took 5th last year. She had a really good hook, and I kind of had a mini heart attack when she accidentally upshifted instead of staying in low. So she probably would have, if she would have realized what she did and downshifted right away before she pulled it down too far, she probably could have saved the hook. But I mean, she still got 5th, which surprised the heck out of me. I thought there was a couple hot tractors after her, and I thought they got her, and they didn't. So that was nice. She still placed, so she did good. And then in the 35,000, so I was 5,000 pounds light for the class, and I took 4th out of 7. I don't know how many were in Shelly's class. The 10,000 is always huge, so she took 5th out of probably like 20. It was a big class. So I took 4th out of 7, and the 3 tractors that were ahead of me were all bigger front wheel assist deers. The 2 of them, well, the last 7 clips that you saw were all my class. The Magnum, that 8630 deer, I think there was 4 deer front wheel assists, like a 20 series, and then 3 bigger ones, and the two with the duals on the front and back beat me, and one of the ones with singles on the front beat me, which partially my fault. First time pulling this thing, not knowing how it was going to act, I started in second, or I was in second, and shifted up to C range to get it down the track, and then right as I left the grandstand, I shifted it down to B range, and she was going good, and then she dropped the spikes, and all of a sudden the bottom fell out of it, and I shifted back down to A range. And when I made the shift, it was already too far down in RPMs. When it came back, it put too much power to the ground too quick. It power hopped twice, I lost traction, and that was the end of it. If I would have downshifted about 5 seconds sooner before he dropped the spikes and it started to go underneath its power band, and I didn't get that power hop, she never broke traction up till that point, so I probably could have kept dragging it. So now I know how it's going to act. So I know for next, it's definitely going next year, because that was a fun hook. That's probably the most fun I've ever had tractor pulling. Like, it may have been a 30-second pass, but man, was that fun. She is a pulling son of a bitch, I tell you what. Like, that was a good hook. She bit, and oh, that was good. I love this tractor. Everything about this tractor is just fun. So for a first hook, and not knowing how she was going to act, and not knowing what gear to pull in, I think she did pretty darn good. And the fact that the 3 tractors that beat me probably had at least 20, somewhere between 20 to 50 more horse, depending on which models, and I guarantee you they were a lot closer to that 35,000 mark. I think she held her own pretty darn good. And then the fact that you look at the power shift technology in this compared to those newer deer power shifts, where the shift is so stinking smooth that they can just keep banging the gears down and they don't get that jerk that makes you break traction, where this thing, you make one downshift and the speed jump is so immense, so you get that jerk, and you got to be careful when you do it. So I'm proud of her. She did good. Shelly did good. The 1800 did good. I am going to leave the duals on the 18, leave the weights on it, and it's partially my fault. She didn't get enough seat time, but she was working second shift. She was hardly ever, shouldn't say she was hard, it wasn't very easy to get her around to get seat time because she was always at work while I was in the field. But now that she's not working that job anymore and she's around, she can get more seat time. So this fall we're going to get her working some ground, hopefully, or chopping stalks or something. But I'm gonna leave the duals on the 1800. I got one thing I got to get fixed on the disc, which I got to fix it for Rantoul anyhow. So we're gonna get the disc fixed and ready for Rantoul, and I'm gonna throw the disc on the 1800, and I'm gonna have her go back here and get this wheat stubble disc at some point this week, just to get her some seat time, so she can get more used to it. Because that's all she needs is time. It's not her fault, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just that she's never around, or up till this point with that job that she was working, a really crappy job at that. She just didn't get the seat time that she probably needs. So for what little experience she has, we're not gonna knock her. We're not gonna knock her. She did good. She still placed. So she done good. So there's that, and I will talk about the shit show that was that pull. There was almost 2 fist fights. The track was a mess. So, and I'm gonna leave the clipping because I got it on video. If you go back to and you'll have seen it at this point if you watch the video all the way through. There was a clip in there. I think it was a 1066 with duals in the 15,000. He got a green flag, took off, made it like 15 feet at most, if that, and then all of a sudden the first flagger started waving the red flag and stopped him. Well, if you go back and look, hold on, I probably ought to take this. All right, so where was I? Oh yeah, so if you go back and look at the video at 1066 where it was like a short, they started him and then stopped him. If you go back and look at the cab on the sled, ain't nobody in it. Well, something must have struck the sled operator's fancy that he needed to go look at something. So in between hooks, he hopped out of the cab, didn't tell the flagger or anybody, and walked back behind the sled and was doing something to it. Meanwhile, they came, hooked that tent up to it, and first and second flagger gave him, so this was the first, second flagger gave him the green flag and he took off. So this was no fault of the tractor operator whatsoever. The flaggers were not paying attention to the go light on top of the cab, the fact that it wasn't illuminated, and they just said go. Luckily, the sled operator was not like in the weight box or under the weight box or in front of anything, so he didn't get hurt, luckily. But he got mad, threw a hissy fit, actually backed the sled off the track out from under the grandstand, and then he and the track boss got into it, and I guess there was almost a fist fight over that. Somehow somebody got that whole thing calmed back down. The sled operator agreed to keep doing the pull. They came out and finished. So there was that. And then there's always been a rule, I guess not a rule, what do you want to call it? It's not necessarily a rule, but like an in good faith kind of thing, where when you get, the pit there is very small and very crowded. So when the trucks and trailers for the night, and the NTPA has a night pull up there, and those guys start showing up like 3 o'clock ish, 2:30, 3 o'clock, to start getting their stuff out and set up. So it's always been kind of an in good faith thing that, hey, when you get done with your farm stock pull during the day, take your tractor, park it outside of the fair gate. There's a big long grassy area there, plenty of room to park tractors and stuff. Take your tractor outside the gate to keep the pit open for when the NTPA guys start showing up. Well, there was like 3 or 4 guys there that stayed parked and had their semis parked there and were only half loaded. And again, one of the track bosses came out, started throwing a hissy fit, and there was almost a fist fight or 2 over that. So now there's like, now there's people saying they're not going to show up next year. That pull has been going downhill for like the last 6-7 years, unfortunately. But so there was that. And then the track was just complete and utter garbage. I guess they laid down 25 inches or 24 inches of new clay this year. Why? they decide every year they need a new freaking track base. I don't know. They should just let the thing set up over winter, get good and hard, come out, disc it like 2 inches deep, pack it back down, grade it, and call her square, and it would be a perfect track. It's really nice dirt, at least it was. But inside the grandstand wasn't terrible. Outside the grandstand was like a swamp. Like, you watch the grader tractor go over, you watch the roller go over, and you could watch the ripples in between the tires, like the front and rear tires, of the wave they were forming. And it was, oh my God, that was terrible. There was holes, there was hills. You watch the roller, and he was like riding a freaking teeter-totter. It was terrible, and it was wet. They kept putting water on it and kept putting water on it, and it's like, which that track has always been very finicky when it comes to water, because half of it's outside in the sun and half of it's under the roof. So the ideal way to do that track is you come in like first thing in the morning, a couple hours before the pull, water the entire thing, don't get it wet, but like just enough to knock the dust down. And then throughout the day up until about noon, you should just hit the outside of the track as needed to keep the dust knocked down. Like, if there's no dust, leave it alone, just grade it. And then about noon, when they switch from farm stock to antique, water the whole thing again, just enough to knock the dust down, and then leave it. And then for the rest of the day, watch for dust outside the grandstand, and if need be, just put a little bit of water outside the grandstand, and don't water the entire day. It's not that hard to run a pull and make sure everybody has fun, and it's not that hard to build a track. And apparently at our pull, both those things are impossible. And until they make some changes on the pull committee, there's 2 or 3 guys that have been on there way too long and have way too much power. And until those 3 guys are gone, it's not going to get any better. Like, the hook count was down. I bet they were down somewhere between 30 and 40 tractors compared to normal this year for the day pull. And then the NTPA pull tonight, we walked through the pit while we were going to get food, and if there was, between tractors and 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive pickups, if there was 30 trucks and tractors there, I'd be impressed. Like the night pull. And the night pull there used to be really cool. Like, they'd pull till midnight, 1 o'clock, and they'd have like jet tractors, multi-engine tractors, super stock tractors, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive pickups. At one time they did semi pulls when I was a kid. Valley Truck Parts always used to have a booth up there, and they'd bring the green Ghost up, that Hendrickson with the Detroit in it, and they would pull that thing. I mean, that used to be a good pull, and they'd start at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and by the time they got through all the farm stock, started the NTPA and ran the NTPA, you'd be like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. It was just pulling all day, and the stands were always full, and everybody always had fun, and it was like they were slammed. And Monday was always the best gate day for people showing up for the pull. It was, and something changed like 10-ish years ago, and it's just been downhill ever since. And I don't know, like, I wouldn't mind getting in on the pull board up there, but like I say, until those few people are off, you're not going to change anything. It's one of them deals. I don't know. But it's the local pull. We go up there to support it, because if nobody goes up there, then all of a sudden they're just going to decide, well, no, we're not going to do the pull, which maybe that's their end goal. Maybe there's people on there that just want the pull gone, because that happened over at Cass County Fair last week. I guess there's a bunch of horse people that got on the board that don't like the pull, and they just want to eliminate it completely. And that pull, I guess, was a shit show. They didn't run half the classes. They sent people home, refunded their money. The sled guy didn't show up till on. I guess that was a nightmare. So we're not quite that bad yet, but we're on our way. But anyhow, I guess that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.